they're scared. I think the Liberal and the establishment is scared shitless of Poilievre. You don't attack someone you're not scared of.
Today, I really wanted to talk about Canada's daily reliance on U.S. corporations, because the Prime Minister is running around like a chicken with his head cut off, going to Indonesia, going to China, going to Europe, trying to secure trade deals, when the main country we need to secure a trade deal with is the United States.
But see, it's hard to do that when you take all of the tax money you have and you ship it overseas. At what point do we hold our political elites in contempt of Canadian interests?
The Harper era versus the Trudeau-Carney era, okay?
What's also Machiavellian, however, is, well, and this breaks my heart, white replacement is happening. Welcome to the Right Call Podcast, episode 106. It's been a couple of weeks I haven't said that, but yes, been gallivanting around the world, been going to Calgary. We're going to talk about Calgary today, definitely. But before we get started, my name is Eli Daniel, and I'm here with our co-host,
Simmer Malhotra.
Damn right, who just changed his socials to RCP. Simmer, finally. To be in line with what the editors have been putting as your name for so long. So, normally you tell the editors what to do. In this case, I take the blame. I was the one who was just like, we need something short. I put RCP and I've been doing that. Anyways, thank you everyone for the Patreons that we have, of course. Always a big shout out. I forgot everyone's name. I'm going to have to rewrite it down. I haven't checked in a while.
Sylvie, Pierre.
Paytrek, Céline, Tim. I think there's like another one I'm missing. Regardless, guys,
we'll get him next week.
We'll get him. We'll give you a double shout out next week. How's that? Anyways, so on today's menu, Simmer and I are fresh off the plane, coming back last night from Calgary.
Yes, we were
at the Conservative convention. For that was an experience.
Yes, it was.
And we also had a chance to meet all of our other fellow right-wing conservative content creator in Canada. It's a small crew. We're the damn few. We are the damn few. Holding on the fort, trying to bring a counter-narrative to the CBC and their $1.4 billion budget. But where we lack in monetary support, we have in nimbleness and truth and raw and authenticity and just being gritty and saying the truth. The truth always wins. I believe that. Truth conquers all.
I agree.
You agree with that? Awesome. So on today's menu, we're going to obviously decant all of that, impressions, and whatnot. I have plenty to say about that. It was my first time at a political event. Interesting. It's in line a little bit what I expected, but at the same time, a few realizations. I also want to talk real quick about, this is a touchy one, but white replacement theory, because we have two politicians in the EU, in Europe, who flat out, officially spoke out in favor of it, which is, it's fucked up. It's really messed up. We're definitely going to talk a little bit about the CBC and the enemy of the people, because they got caught at an event as well this weekend saying some horrible things. I don't know if you've caught wind of that.
No, I'm excited.
That's going to blow your mind. And lastly, just a little bit about foreign aid regarding to Canada. But that's about it on my end. It's not going to be a big episode. Let's try to keep it at 1 hour. By the way, guys, we're going to try a new format, an hour. I think 60 minutes is better than 90 minutes. 90 minutes just gets a little too long. So we're going to try to condense it. More views on target. We'll love that. What about you, my friend?
I prepared a few little talking points for our listeners. First, I wanted to give our Canadian Liberals a reality check when it comes to our trade relationship with the United States. So I made a list of U.S. companies that Canadians rely on daily to illustrate how terrible it is, and pathetic, quite frankly, it is, that our economist prime minister is prioritizing Indonesia and China over resolving our trade relationship with the United States.
Yep.
I want to talk about the hypocrisy of the left on Donald Trump's ICE raids. And I actually prepared a video of former U.S. presidents and wannabe presidents, Obama, Hillary Clinton, there's Bill Clinton, and their opinions on illegal immigration. And
yeah,
we have to contrast that hypocrisy. And then I just prepared a little thing about, Harper, the results that Canadians had when Harper was prime minister.
Those
under
days,
the Conservative leadership.
Those good days.
Versus the results that Trudeau and Carney have brought for us. And I wanted to do a quick chat about Pierre Poilievre, because he won the leadership with unprecedented numbers. And so I think it would be a great time to just give a little Pierre Poilievre summary on how he got into politics, and not how he got into politics, how he got onto my radar as a voter, and why I truly really respect him and value his presence in Canadian politics.
Awesome. Speaking of Harper, this reminds me. I missed the Harper days. And a guy that we met this weekend, Ice Cube Sandwich, he started this series on TikTok. I love it. It's all about like things I miss about Canada. And it'll be like things I miss about Canada, going to the drive-thru at Timmy's, ordering a double-double and actually getting a double-double. Stuff like that. Or like, it's just, we're nostalgic. And can you believe that Harper was only 10 years ago? Canada was a different world, wasn't it?
Not 12 years ago, I think.
12 years ago.
12? 2015?
We're 2016.
10 years ago?
Yeah, 10-ish.
10, 11,
Yeah. We're all
a decade.
A decade. There you go. A decade is a good way. All right. So, yes, this weekend. Okay. Have you guys noticed, and I'm sure you have, how for the last few months there has been unrelenting attacks on Pierre Poilievre, saying that Conservatives were divided over him, that not only did he not have the support of the population, but within his own party there was division. They need to replace him. And for the longest time, and I've been saying this, and I've said it on the show, I was convinced it was just manufactured attacks in order to cast doubt in Conservative Party politics in order to shoot him out of the way, because they're scared. I think the Liberal and the establishment is scared shitless of Poilievre. You don't attack someone you're not scared of. If someone is below you, to be quite honest with you, you kind of just ignore them. I mean, the truth is this. If you're walking in the streets and you pass next to a hobo and he screams an insult at you, do you turn around and fight him? Or do you just chuckle and keep walking past because you're like, fuck, do you care what you have to say? Well, it's the exact same thing. So I was saying the attacks on Poilievre are going to die down, on his character and his leadership are going to die down the very minute he's confirmed again at his leadership review. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And we'll talk about the leadership review. But now on X, ever since he was, not reelected, but reconfirmed, the whole narrative has spun from he's incompetent and he's not good and he's not the right man to now it's actually not the whole party that voted for him. It was just party insiders. It was just delegates who paid $1,000 to be there, and the rest of the party actually doesn't support. The whole narrative shifted overnight, and I called it. I knew it. This is manufactured outrage because they are scared of him.
Absolutely. To comment a little bit on Pierre Poilievre, you have to realize that Pierre Poilievre has been a powerful force since before 2020, since 2018. And his momentum really started when he was one of the first, for me personally as a voter, someone who's focused on economics. For me, what really got my attention was when he was the first person to talk about how liberal spending was going to cause massive inflation, massive debt. It's going to force the Bank of Canada to raise interest rates, which is going to, completely destroy our economy and make the average Canadian struggle tremendously. So Pierre Poilievre was talking about this far before the results of liberal incompetence actually happened. So he was on the ball before the Liberals ever were, and people were not paying attention. However, Conservative supporters started paying attention when, his clips started to go viral on YouTube. Sure. People got attention of him, his House of Commons clips, and he won the first leadership tremendously.
His leadership review now, okay, for the review, he got 87.4% of the votes at the delegation. I'm happy to say I voted for him. I was a delegate at the party, at the convention. So people were ecstatic, and he gave a great speech, and I would have loved for you to have seen that speech. He gave a wonderful speech. As Mark Nixon called it, it was the best speech ever, even including Davos with Mark Carney. That cracks me up. But one thing, though, and I do want to put a little caveat, because having been there the entire weekend, or more than the weekend, actually, and seeing everything happen, I think it's important, and I'd be curious to hear your thought on this, because it is true. Okay, now that we can say his leadership has been confirmed, the next stage, man, is to form government, period. And to do so, you need to be able to address the country. And my concern is that I hate the whole, let's just attack the Liberals all the time. I hate that. I want to take more of an approach that Trump did. Trump will attack the opposing party big time, and he does it in a way that is unlike anyone else. He is clever, he's funny, he's comedic, but he has a plan. He has a vision. He has something that people can rally behind that is more than just screw the Democrats. It's let's make America great again. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to build the wall. We're going to deport the illegals. We're going to invest in this. We're going to do that. And it works. I feel like the last election, it was a defensive game. It was like a weird campaign. But I think now the message needs to be, how do we get Canada back on track? Because Canada's not on track right now.
Right.
So what do you think of that? Do you what the message should be?
Well, firstly, I would say that Pierre Poilievre is very good, has been very good. I will push back slightly. I do agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I will push back slightly in that he has painted a vision for the country. You know, more self-reliance, less dependence on government, more economic growth and reduction of government spending, reducing bureaucracy. He's painted a clear picture, and he's painted concrete policy platforms like in healthcare, housing, inflation. He's talked about his specific solutions, how he would approach these. So he has painted a vision on how he would intend to govern. But I do agree that he has not painted enough of a compelling vision. Like the Obama days. Yeah. When Obama ran his first campaign, that was like probably one of the best.
We can.
Well, it was hope, right? It was inspiring hope, but in a way that was compelling to the average emotional voter. Now, I'm not saying that we should just become emotional voters, but I'm saying that he does have to paint a vision of strength and what we can be as a country. Sure. And I think that's what he should prioritize going into the next campaign.
I guess the caveat to your caveat is that, and I was saying this based on what I saw at the convention, right? So a lot of the speeches and a lot of what was said and the sentiment over there was very anti-Mark Carney. Like a lot of jokes were about Mark Carney as well. Yeah. And just like, cool, look, we know he sucks. And you're talking to your base, dude. Now, I was talking to a few guys out there and they're like, yeah, exactly. He's pandering to the base right now. It's all people that hate the liberals. I get that. But it's like one thing, okay, so going back to my thoughts about the convention, though, is that the one thing that surprised me is how many young people were there. And I thought that was beautiful. It cements the reality that the Conservative Party of Canada is the party of the youth, and most importantly, the party of the future. And it's a weird reversal from global trends, because around the world, youth tend to vote liberal, tend to vote left. And Canada is like the only country I can think of where the majority, and yes, the majority, more than 50% of people under the age of 45 are conservative leaning or right-wing leaning. It is unprecedented. And the same can be said about the flip side. The older generation is super liberal in Canada, whereas in the rest of the world, conservatives or right-wingers tend to be the boomers, tend to be the older generation. Yeah. So that was good. I love seeing how they got involved as well. The points that were brought up, the policy changes, and the votes that were brought up by the younger generation, kind of challenging the status quo. Because that's a thing that I actually disliked a little bit. I got to see with my own eyes, witness live, how no matter which party, there's always an establishment, an old guard of sorts that tries to protect itself. And so effectively at the convention, delegates get to submit proposal for changes in policies within the party. And those policies eventually, if the party makes or forms government, are the kind of policies that will be brought forth to create new laws, bills in Parliament. And a lot of those policies that were brought by the younger generation was about dismantling the old guard, was about removing power from a centralized group and giving it more to smaller local organization, which I support. I believe in decentralization big time. I'm not a big fan of power centralization at all. Hence why I love the United States. It's a republic of sovereign states with their own constitutions and whatnot. And I got to see how the old guard fought back. One of the biggest kind of outrage of the entire thing was the fact that there was a policy proposal, again, by the new generation that said that at these conventions, only delegates that are Canadian citizens should have the right to vote, which at face value makes sense. You're proposing policies that will eventually be tabled as bills in Parliament, and you're talking to Canadians who will elect you, and you need to be Canadian to vote. But inside the party, you don't have to be. You can be a foreigner. And the one thing that was really a little weird is that And Max Genet, I think his name, I forgot his last name, but he's a young independent journalist. He was there and he was doing some tremendous work, man. Kudos to you. And he was recording one of the higher ups in the political party. I think he's even like the deputy leader right now. Okay, and he's this Indian guy with a blue turban. I'm not sure his name is. I really forgot his name. And he voted against that motion, effectively continuing to allow foreigners, non-citizens, to vote in party politics. And then he was questioned by Max, the independent journalist, and he was, pretending to say like, I was just voting for the status quo. It's not because it's the status quo that it should remain. And that to me left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, especially considering that apparently, and this is hearsay, I'm basing on what he said, I cannot verify this, but he was approached, Max, the independent journalist, a young guy who's a Gen Z, by the way, by party officials later on, saying that if he continues to do this kind of journalism, he would be asked to leave the event. That to me is what I mean is the dirty politics that I don't agree with. I don't think this is frank, this is open, this is honest. This is what I expect from the Liberal Party, not from the Conservative Party. So that's my caveat about the entire weekend, is that I got to see hope, youth, and fresh ideas, and I loved that. But I also got to see an old guard wary about being usurped from their powerful position. And it goes back to what we've been saying for the longest time. It's like the boomers versus the millennials / Gen Z. And this happens even within the right wing. So those are my thoughts.
Thanks for sharing that. Oh, but to add to your point, the youth does overwhelmingly support the Conservative Party, and recent polls came out that showed like around 60% of Canadians under 30, or 50 to 60% of Canadians under 30 support the Conservative Party, whereas whereas 60% of boomers and older generation Canadians, I think above the age of 60, are overwhelmingly in support of the Liberal Party. And so that does add to your point.
Yeah. Another thing too, and this is typical politics, right? So there's a lot of handshaking, lots of drinking, lots of partying, Like during the day, it's like events and you have, votes and speeches, and it's like this big thing. But in the evening, you go to what's called hospitality suites, and it's a bunch of like, it's either lobbyists or people that are trying to be elected as like executive of the national committee. And it's just drinks and food. Like the Quebec delegation hosted one, and it was they had poutine, and they flew cheese and sauce straight from Quebec, kid you not, to make the best poutine that Alberta's ever seen. And it was supposed to only be for us, the Quebec delegates. Everyone crashed it. They ran out of poutine in like legitimately like 5 minutes. But what I'm trying to say is that the people you meet, and this is a funny thing about politics, is that it is still politics, and it's a bunch of people that it's all about. You can tell it's a little bit about power. You know what I mean? It's all about like I'll give like a little bit of a funny thing. So I met this guy, comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, you make videos?" And I shake his hand. I'm like, "Yeah, one of the guys that makes videos." He's like, "Why don't you make videos in French?" And my answer, and this is why I'll never be a politician, I am way too unpolished, way too direct, and probably way too gritty and rough around the edges. So I look at him, I'm like, because I don't give a fuck about French. And mind you, French is my native language. Je parle français, c'est ma langue maternelle. And he looked at me like I legit finger banged his cat. And he's just like, "What do you mean? You're from Quebec?" I'm like, "Yeah, but do I want to talk to an audience of 3.5 people? Or do I want to talk to an audience that's worldwide?" And he couldn't understand that. But in that moment, I realized I will never have a political career. Imagine like in Parliament, like guess that's a question or whatever, and I just give the actual honest truth of how I think. I'm getting kicked out of Parliament. So anyways, all in all, it was a great time. Do you want to talk about the creator event that we had though?
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, because you flew in for this.
Yes, the pleb threw a party, and I know him from just through friends, and he invited me to the party, and I was really excited to go, and we got to hang out and meet the other content creators in Canada, and get to meet them, get to talk to them a little bit, share ideas, and it was a very revealing event. It was
absolutely. Well, the thing is, again, like I said at the start of the intro, is that we're the damn few. We're really not a lot in Canada to do this at all. So over there was obviously Mario for the North, Mario Zayana, sorry. He's the biggest celebrity, and people loved him. This guy, and I mean, he has the gravitas, he has the personality. First of all, he stands like 6'5". He's tall as hell, but like charming, nice guy. Everyone loves him, and you can tell like he's a superstar. And like he is, I don't know if he's going to go into politics one day, but he would have an amazing career in there. Met Brittany, met Jasmine Lane, Berta Proud Dad, Berta Proud Mom. Elevate, of course. Mark Nixon. Who else? I mean,
Wyatt Claypool.
Yes, Wyatt.
No, there was a lot of really cool
amazing
people. We got to meet. Very good time.
Yeah. And they're all experts in their niche, right? So some are like big on YouTube, some are big on X, some are big on Instagram, some are big on TikTok. It's really kind of like all over the place, but it was so awesome to like hang out with these guys.
Well, just a quick summary on that event. You know, we got to meet some people who actually recognized us. That was really interesting because people like, you know, we make this content, and the fact that people show their appreciation for it was something that, you know, really made me feel very humbled and very happy and content that the work is productive for people, and it shows them some ideas that they get to enjoy and revel in.
Well, it's also the fact that you can tell they're craving for information and for a sense of belonging. They feel ostracized even maybe by, you know, the mainstream and the established politics of the liberal Canada, and they're looking for voices out there and to belong. And it was held, by the way, at Ranchman's, which is the most Berta freaking bar you could think of.
It was awesome. I had a great time.
Think about like line or square dancing, bull riding. I mean, people were dressed, I mean, typical cowboy stuff, cowboy hats, cowboy boots. I mean, some of the security that were there, holy crap. They remind me of Rip from Yellowstone. Like same huge, beefy, man's man. Like the kind of dude you don't want to mess with, you know what I mean? But it was a fucking great time. So everyone, if you were there and you got a chance to say hi, we love all of you guys. We really, really do appreciate that.
So honestly, let's get right into it.
Well, I mean, that was it. And we wanted to talk about the event. It's important. We got that's part of the show today.
I know. I'm just saying I really wanted to talk about this situation
about Epstein.
No.
I mean, that came out too, man. There's a lot of crazy shit there.
Yeah, I know. But today I really wanted to talk about Canada's daily reliance on US corporations.
Okay.
Because, you know, the Prime Minister is running around like a chicken with his head cut off, going to Indonesia, going to China, going to Europe, trying to secure trade deals. When the main country we need to secure a trade deal with is the United States. And so what I did was I compiled a bunch of companies that Canadians rely on daily. And it's borderline obscene to think that we're going to replace our relationship with the United States after I read these companies.
I'm curious to hear that.
Okay. Let's start number 1. Fast food and daily meals. McDonald's, Subway, Starbucks, Burger King, KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Wendy's, all American companies.
Chick-fil-A. Don't forget Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, baby.
Number 2, big box retailers. Walmart, Costco, Amazon, Home Depot, Best Buy, all American companies. Let's keep going. Payment systems. So every transaction you do. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, PayPal, Stripe, Block, all American companies. Phones, computing, and digital OS. Apple, Google, Microsoft, American companies. Social media. Meta, so Instagram and Facebook. Twitter, X. Snapchat, Snap. Reddit, Tinder, Hinge, OkCupid, all American companies. Google Maps, Apple Maps, belong to Google and Apple, American companies. Internet entertainment, Netflix, Walt Disney, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Comcast, YouTube, Spotify, all American companies. Internet. The actual internet was created in the United States, and Facebook, Meta, actually owns a lot of the wires that go under the sea, and like big companies own the internet, American companies.
Can't say on that's. I gotta continue the segment, but the internet is decentralized. That's the entire purpose of the internet.
But a lot of the infrastructure is owned by American companies.
True, but not the internet itself.
No, well,
no, the infrastructure, but the internet will live without it.
Yes, it will. So, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloudflare. Let's keep going. Microsoft Teams. Does your company use Microsoft? Has a company you've ever worked with used Microsoft Teams?
Sadly, yes. Worst thing ever.
Zoom, Salesforce, Dropbox, DocuSign, all American companies. This is the funniest one. Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart, UPS, FedEx, all American companies. Vehicles, Ford, General Motors, Tesla, Boeing, all American companies. Retail brands you buy daily. Nike, Levi's, Gap, Under Armour, Columbia Sportswear, Crocs, all American companies. Household essentials, daily goods, Procter & Gamble, P&G, Johnson & Johnson, Colgate, Kimberly-Clark, SC Johnson. These are all American companies that Canadians rely on daily, and there are no alternatives available to us at this moment. Food and beverage, Coca-Cola Company, Pepsi, Kraft Heinz, so your ketchup, your mustard, General Mills, a lot of your cereal, Kellogg's, all American companies. Daily medical, healthcare supply. Pfizer, so all the vaccines you guys wanted to take are from Pfizer, an American company. Moderna. I mean, I think that covers, that's just like
every strata of society, pretty much.
And there are thousands more.
Of course. And let's not forget the best, the most important these days, Palantir. Nobody knows what they do, but they'll fuck you. They'll fuck you up. They'll kill you somehow. There's always this meme, by the way, every time the U.S. is about to go to war that says like people are about to find out why Palantir trades at like 700 times P&E. Although I don't think it's 700 times, but that's part of the meme, right? So yeah, but that's the one thing. Okay, so let's decant this a little bit. The whole, speaking of mainstream media, Canadians have been fed a narrative, and Canadians, I hate saying this, but Canadians are like the most total line kind of people there is. When they're told to do something, they do it. They're perfect lamb being brought to the slaughterhouse. Yes, the perfect lambs at the slaughterhouse kind of thing. And they've been told that we can do without the U.S., that relationship has been there. And our own prime minister has said that relationship will never be the same. But it is such a line, and even the prime minister doesn't believe it, because the prime minister, the first thing he did before even taking office was move the headquarters of Brookfield to the U.S. Something like 92% of his assets are American. His wife, his kids, everyone's located in the U.S. He is America first deep down inside. Like, I mean, even our prime minister is like America first. He's like MAGA. You guys just don't realize it. So Canadians need to realize that, look, there's plenty of things I dislike about Americans, but nonetheless, we are lucky, we're privileged that we have the geographical position that we do, because we get to share the longest undefended border and the most integrated economy and supply chain of the world with the biggest economy of the world. We should be taking advantage of that.
Dude, on top of that, you know how we said the boomers are mostly in support of the Liberal Party, who says, oh, our trade relationship with the United States is now over?
Yeah.
Our boomers need their pensions, right?
A little bit.
I would 50% of Canadian pension plan assets are invested in the United States.
Yeah. Makes sense. We'll never bet against the U.S., man.
Canadian retirement literally depends on U.S. performance. Like, if the U.S. does well, your pension does well.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Look, America, I really believe it, man. People are not going to like me for saying this, but America first. I never bet against the U.S. I never bet. I do strongly, fundamentally believe in American exceptionalism. I believe it with my whole entire soul and being. So, I mean, look, instead of fighting, and again, it's such I've spoken about this before. I've said it. I said, Canadians, they have this pompous air of like, we're better than America. It's like arrogance, right? And I keep saying, how? What are we better at? And it's not to self-deprecate. It's just the reality. We don't produce shit. We don't innovate on shit. We don't succeed at shit. We used to be good at hockey, not anymore. You know, like, at least that used to be our pride and joy. Not even that anymore we're good at.
That's the most embarrassing thing. They use like American technology to complain about America.
Yeah.
Right. American infrastructure, American technology to complain about the U.S. Like, imagine a girl sipping a Starbucks latte complaining about the United States imperialism.
I can do that. They're called the Democrats in the U.S. That's literally what it is. Fight, eat the rich. You know, Occupy Wall Street. As she's tweeting that
from her MacBook,
on her sitting at Starbucks drinking her $12 latte. Oh man, that's hilarious. One thing that's not so hilarious though is, and this ties back to this. See, Canada, we should be investing in Canada so that we can compete with or against the U.S. I don't want to compete against the U.S. so we can both scale and grow together.
I want to work alongside the United States. There you go.
Absolutely. But see, it's hard to do that when you take all of the tax money you have and you ship it overseas. So let's talk a little bit about that. At what point do we hold our political elites in contempt of Canadian interests? See, Canada sent overseas since 2015 $74.5 billion of our money to foreign countries. In international aid per year, and this was under Trudeau, so international aid sent overseas under Trudeau, from the year 2015 to 2019, it was roughly $5 to $6 billion per year of our money being sent over there. Then in 2021, or from 2020 to 2021, during the COVID years, it was $8.4 billion. $8.4 billion. Why did it increase 30% while we were undergoing a pandemic at home? It was national emergency, right? It was the apocalypse. Why are we sending more money overseas? Why not invest it here in healthcare or protection or whatever? No, we sent even more overseas. Then in 2021, 2022, we sent $8.4 billion. 2022, 2023, we sent $16 billion. That's thanks to Ukraine, because protecting Ukraine somehow saves Canadian democracy? What? And then in 2023, 2024, we sent $12.3 billion. Again, a total whopping 74.5. That's over $2,000 per Canadian of all ages, not taxpayers. We're talking every man, child, baby, elderly, you name it, that is being used overseas to help other nations instead of building our own. Meanwhile, Canada is regressing compared to our peer nations in the world, right? Unemployment is rising. Housing costs is through the roof. A quarter of Canadians are food insecure. Debt is climbing. Our saving rate, that's how much money Canadians save at the end of the year, is at 4.7%. To give you an idea, in 1980, it was upwards of 20%. That's how little Canadians now have to put aside. Our birth rate is collapsing because people are so poor they can't have families. And this is, in my humble opinion, and Elon Musk's opinion too, the number one threat to our civilization. You don't fix a country by sending all this money overseas. You invest it domestically. And that's one thing. It's like, yeah, at what point do we hold these elites accountable? We put our foot down and say, no, remember, 2026 is the year of no. At which point do we just say, it's enough? Fuck, imagine how much we could do at home with that.
It's a lack of awareness from the population. We have 50% of this country, the boomers, uninformed leftists and liberals who haven't done their math homework, quite frankly, who don't understand, because politicians will lie, but the facts and numbers don't lie. And the facts and the numbers are clear on that, okay? And this is perfect to go into the next segment. The Harper era versus the Trudeau Carney era.
Yes.
Okay?
I miss Harper.
During the Harper era, the average house cost around $450,000. Now, it costs upwards of $800,000. The average rent was just around $1,000. And now it is over $2,200 on average. Immigration, we had around 270,000 people entering the country. And now it's upwards of 550,000, sometimes even close to 1 million per year.
Damn.
Okay. Inflation was at 1%. Inflation since 2015, but since 2018, has been above 15 to 20% annually when it comes to real goods that you need day to day. Gas, okay, around $1 a liter during the Harper era. In Canada, we've seen it go to close to $2 a liter at times, averaging maybe, I would say, $1.50 a liter. The Canadian federal debt, $612 billion when Harper was in office, and he was actually bringing it down towards the end of his tenure. This is after the 2008 financial crisis, by the way. And now the Canadian debt is upwards of $1.2 trillion, heading towards $3 trillion. Crime, quite low. Canada was considered one of the safest countries to live in. There's an article that I actually found in 2015. April 22nd, 2014, okay? This is from Global News. Canada's middle class is the richest in the world. Yeah. This is back in 2014, an old Global News article.
Mm-hmm.
And now, instead of being the richest middle class in the world, Canada is actually the food inflation capital of the world. Yeah. This is the results liberal policies have brought this country, and liberal voters are sleeping at the wheel, letting this happen to them. And a lot of the food inflation we're seeing now is already post-pandemic.
It is.
You know, it's not, you can't blame pandemic and Donald Trump when Canada is food independent. We produce enough food to feed our entire country.
Do you have the numbers? That would have been really cool, because obviously there's a huge explosion of inflation in the cost of all the goods you've mentioned. Do you have the delta, the difference between the inflation of it compared to, call it, how can I explain this? Like, let's say inflation was supposed to be, I don't know, like 2%, but food went up 5%. That's a delta of 3%, right? So food went up more than it should have, for example, right? Do you have that metric?
Yeah, it's 1,000,000%. No,
it could, honestly, for some things, probably not 1,000,000%. No,
I'm joking,
but like taxes, for example, have gone up, if I recall, not like 1,200% in terms of inflation. Like the amount of taxes people pay. Wow. That's from an old number.
No, to answer your question, I don't have the
and you mentioned gas too. That's the one thing that like I found so interesting was when I landed back in Montreal yesterday. It was just going next to a gas station. It's $1.47, and I was like, oh, it was $1.12 in Alberta. You know what I mean? Gas is so cheap there. Oh man, honestly, why don't we move to Alberta? It's a great province.
I want to go to Florida, bro.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, okay, let me rephrase this. If we're stuck in Canada, because
I'm going to Alberta,
because a lot of people, that's exactly what they said. They're like, well, we were there, especially at Ranchmans. They're like, you guys are from Quebec, and that's the one thing when we were on stage, you know, like I said, we won't make any friends here because we're from Quebec. Obviously, they like us because we're on their team, and like everyone was there for the crew. But I mean, the average Albertan hates Quebec, and I don't blame them. All they see is we suck their equalization money dry, and then after that we turn around and say we want to
fuck your economy. That's basically what we tell them.
And then also, but now it's a little bit different. Like when I used to live, because I used to live in Alberta, right? I worked in the oil sands up north. I was in Fort Mac. I was working at Curl Lake, the good times. And at the time, there was no such thing as like a real big Alberta separatist movement. So one of the grievances they had against Quebec was the fact that we had a separatist movement and that we almost passed it. And they were like, you guys want to take all this money, you flip us the finger, and then you say you want out. So if you want out, don't take our money, you know. And it is true. Now they didn't say that this time because they want out as well. So if anything, Quebec and Alberta are becoming natural-born allies. So in Quebec politics, and I don't want to dwell on Quebec politics, but our premier resigned. We're going to have a new premier in the next few weeks, and we're going to an election. So right now it's going to be a lame duck premier for the next few months, right? We're going to have an election in the fall. And there's a very good chance that the Parti Québécois, the PQ, the separatist party, wins. A decisive majority, may I add. And they've committed to bring forth a referendum on separation. I'm the first one to say, I do not believe 1 second Quebec could survive as a sovereign nation. However, I'm telling you right now, I'm committed to voting yes if a referendum come. I am committed. I will vote on Quebec separating from Canada for one reason. Because I believe it can only help Alberta, because it will empower and embolden Albertans that it can as well. And if both Alberta and Quebec separate and hold, because there is going to be needed, thanks to the Supreme Court ruling, a good faith negotiation between provinces and the federal government, well, it's a heck of a lot of a better negotiation tactic if two provinces want out. Now they can coalesce, or not coalesce, but they can form a coalition between each other to push back against the other provinces in the federal government. So that's why I would vote yes. That's my take. That's my take. So let's go Quebec.
Quebec would not survive without Alberta. I mean, just the equalization payments they take. You know, I find it so hypocritical that, you know, leftists in Quebec are anti-oil, anti-exploration, but they're happy to suck up that Alberta money who relies on oil exploration.
There's only one caveat that I'll say about that, okay, and it's the fact that Quebec is nearly, if not even more, resource-rich than Alberta. It could survive on its own. It would just need a complete overhaul of their policies, their politics, and their social norms. Because Quebec is incredibly resource rich. We just don't extract it. We have oil, we have shale gases, okay, a shit ton of mineral, lumber through the ass. We control, and Quebec would control the fucking St. Lawrence River.
And and we have the most fresh water in the world in Quebec.
Yeah, indeed. So, and we produce hydroelectricity through the roof. We're one of the world's largest hydroelectricity producer. We could actually really be wealthy, Quebec.
I know.
But we're a BS. We're a welfare province. Now, it would be hilarious, and I'm speculating here, but if this was all part of the master plan, and it was like, okay, let's not touch our resources. Let's just suck all other provinces' resources dry until we separate, and then we have access to all our resources, and we're going to crank it up and become really wealthy. I would be like, guys, that's maniacal. That's like Machiavellian, you know what I mean? Yeah. What's also Machiavellian, however, is, well, and this breaks my heart, white replacement is happening. See, what used to be a fringe conspiracy theory, which was a surefire way to get you labeled as an extremist, is now openly being promoted by the left. Openly. So we have Irene Montero. She's Spain's former equality minister who celebrates the Sanchez government decision to give legal status to over 500,000 illegal migrants. She said during a rally speech that she supports, and I quote, the great replacement and wants migrants to replace Spanish racists. Take a look. Let me connect it to the TV. Oopsie. Oh, that could have been so smooth. If it was all ready, take a look.
Just cut it.
No. I know. I'm just joking around. It's going to connect.
A las personas migrantes y racializadas que por favor no nos dejen solas con tanto facha. Y claro que sí queremos que voten, claro que sí, hemos conseguido papeles, regularización ya, y ahora vamos a por la nacionalidad o a cambiar la ley para que puedan votar, por supuesto. Ojalá, teoría del reemplazo, ojalá podamos barrer de fachas y de racistas este país con gente migrante, con gente trabajadora. Claro que yo quiero que haya reemplazo.
There we go. This is as open as it gets, right?
What a fool.
What a fool. But wait, it's not done because right after that, obviously, and this is with regards to a royal decree. So here's the thing. Spain, by the way, legalized, or how can I say it? What's the word? Regularized all these immigrants, all these illegal immigrants in the country through a royal decree because the Parliament of Spain was refusing to give them citizenship or papers or to make them legal in the country. So the government used a royal decree, which is like in Canada, it's called an order in council, and in the US, it would call an executive order. So they bypassed Parliament vote to make them legal in the country. But then, another one. We have left-wing leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon from France that says France needs to embrace the great replacement. Once again, let's watch.
De la capacité de nos listes à incarner la nouvelle France, celle du grand remplacement, celle de la génération qui remplace l'autre parce que c'est comme ça depuis la nuit des temps et que c'est pas parce qu'il y a 10 dingues dans un coin qui tout d'un coup ont peur d'être remplacés par leurs enfants que nous devons partager leur peur.
So he's playing a little bit on words there.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, fuck this guy.
What was the context in which he was talking about? Did
Not
you
too
watch
sure.
the whole speech?
I did not watch the whole speech. So going back to that, right? These people hate you. They hate your culture. They hate your history. And they hate your values. This is treason. It's fucking outrageous, man. Those countries were built by these ancestors, by your forefathers. They bled, they died, they fought, they struggled to give you a better tomorrow. And then you have these fringe elites who come and they look at you with disgust, with disdain, and they tell you that you're no better than cattle that needs to be replaced. Yeah, that gets me really deep, man. That pisses me off beyond measure. So anyways, the next time someone says that white replacement is bullshit and it's not true, ask yourself, why are they flooding our countries with so many immigrants from culturally opposing countries and cultures that are at odds with ours? They hate you. That's it. That was my point. I don't want to
Well, beyond that, they're indoctrinating our women to not have children. They're indoctrinating, our birth rates are so exceedingly low.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of doing the logical thing, which is say, no, we need a replace. I think you have to have above 2.
2.11.
2.11. And so instead of prioritizing that and saying, look, our culture, our people are struggling. They're not able to afford having a big family. First of all, just look at the economic situation of the Western democracies, of the middle class, and how their quality of living has eroded. And instead of addressing those issues, it's just easier for them to flood in the country with migrants to, bolster up the GDP numbers, get those new migrants to vote for them. It's all in their interests.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. I don't know if I completely agree with them saying they hate you as much as I think that, and maybe you're right.
do.
I'm not saying that you're right or wrong.
It's contempt. How can you look at people and say you need to be replaced by other people and not think there's hate behind it?
It's irresponsible rhetoric.
No, at this point, it's beyond irresponsible. At this point, they hate you, man. You don't do that to the people you see as your family. You don't do that to the people you see as your countrymen, right? This is more than reckless. This is hate.
You may very well be right.
I mean, this precipitates the destruction of these men, whether it's the woman or the men that were claiming or preaching replacement theory. They're the life, the country, the values, the benefits, everything that they grew up with. They're saying, I don't want that for the next generation. I was the beneficiary, the recipient of these benefits, and fuck you. You don't get to do it. We're going to, come on, let's be honest. Wherever you mass migrate any freaking Western country, standards of living go down, crime goes up, everything collapses.
Dude.
And why is it always the West that is being told that? Why is it always Western country? You don't see Middle Eastern countries doing that. As a matter of fact, they refuse to take their own.
And beyond that, dude, foreigners committed 77% of solved rape cases in Paris in 2023.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So the migrants that they're bringing in are not even quality migrants, and they're saying you need to be replaced. Like, that is, I do see your point. I take your point on that.
Yeah, man. Fuck. Did you have another segment? I can talk about this for a while, but if you have another segment, let's go to it.
Hell yeah, let's do it. I wanted to talk a little bit about the hypocrisy of the left in regards to ICE raids and the reckless behavior of the left on this front. So let's get into it. Let me just... So, I actually prepared a clip of Obama and Clinton talking about illegal immigration, and I would love to play it just to set the ground here.
Do it. Can't wait to see Obama. It's been a while. I haven't seen that. Haven't seen my brother on TV.
Let's go.
This administration, the Bush administration, has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. As president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change. They have to be held accountable. Start shedding some light on the problem, and we can once again be a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. That's what I intend to do as President of the United States.
Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws.
and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president.
So this is what Obama was saying not too long ago about the issue of illegal migrants, how they're undocumented workers. I mean, this is the same concern that the Trump administration is taking seriously, and yet we have unprecedented levels of riots against ICE.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. Bill Clinton, when he was president, he deported 12.5 million people. When Bush was president, he deported 10.3 million people. Obama deported 5.2 million people. And Trump, so far, has deported 1.5 million people. Okay. So you could say that Trump isn't doing a good enough job.
Gotta step those numbers up. They're rookie numbers, pal.
And so just when Clinton, Bush, Obama were in office, you didn't see these crazy Minnesota riots. You never saw anti-ICE riots at this level.
Quite the opposite. They were praised. I saw this report from, I think it was CNN. CNN did this whole clip on, they were following ICE agents for like a day in Chicago, and they were praising them. They're doing the dirty work. They're saving you. They're keeping your streets safe. That was CNN like 15 years ago.
And so I just find it extremely hypocritical. Like, I have a picture of, Tom Homan?
Yeah,
the borders are?
Of course.
I have a picture right here of Obama giving Tom Homan a medal.
Yeah, that's the Medal of Freedom. Yeah.
And now apparently he's the big fascist bootlicker.
I love Tom Homan. That guy takes or gives no fucks, takes no shit. Like when he talks to the media and they try to like get him like in a, like there was this one thing, he was being grilled. I think he was in Congress. Okay, he was like in a committee, or maybe he was a journalist, and the question was, man, to this day, and it cracks me up. It's like, how can you prevent children from being separated from their parents when their parents get deported? And his answer was like, well, we can deport families together. Like, bam, my man.
Yeah.
Freaking, he's the realest G. Realest G in town.
And I mean, the whole issue with Alex Preddy, do you want to give that a little attention?
Alex Preddy.
The guy who got shot by an ICE agent.
Well, I mean, sure, we can touch on it real quick because we got about 9-ish minutes.
Did you want to talk about something else?
Oh, I just want the whole fiasco with the CBC, because we can wrap up on that. No, it's not an issue.
It doesn't need to be addressed. I just think I'm going to say it like this: Alex Preddy showed up to a supposed peaceful protest with a gun on him.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've seen clips of him reaching out for the gun when the officer decides. Like, I watched the clip in so much detail when it happened, and I tried to find every angle, and it was clear that this guy was not a peaceful protester by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, there was a clip of him before who's cursing and hitting and assaulting vehicles
and breaking breaking the light of a car, of a cop car. So this was not a peaceful protester. This guy was reckless. He was being extremely reckless to show up to a protest with a gun and to get into an altercation with cops, to reach out to a weapon. I watched the officer. I watched the officer discharge his weapon and the thought process. I watched it in slow motion. The officer is looking in a direction. Okay, he sees an officer has these rioters taken care of. Okay, I'm just gonna look around, see what's going on. He's looking at Alex Preddy. He watches him for 5 or 6 seconds, and then with a calculated decision and a split-second decision, takes out his firearm and shoots Alex Preddy. And if he was some fascist psycho Gestapo, they would not they would have no concern over who they're shooting. But that was a calculated decision. That was a split-second calculated decision. And then a clip came out after of him actually reaching for his firearm. Yeah. And so my take on that, just very quick, is that was a justified shooting, and the left has no reason to be upset.
Well,
other than
they're going to be upset at anything regardless. But of course it was justified. And look, ultimately, Alex Preddy, he went to fuck around.
And he found out.
There you go. Look, listen, do you know how you make sure you don't get shot? Just stay home and don't go to an ICE raid trying to cause issues.
Don't go there with a gun and start to antagonize the police officers. Let the officers do their work, and that's what it is.
That's how it should be. Now, people who don't do their work, Canadian journalists. Wow. Okay, so at a Canadian Media Producers Association event, 2 producers told Mark Carney, who was present, that they, along with 188,000 others, have his back just like he has theirs. That was not a joke. It was a glimpse into how the system really works. Take a look at the video. Oops.
Oh, you got to disconnect me.
I'll disconnect. I'll unplug you from the Matrix, baby.
Oh, whoops.
Oh, I gotta read.
Jeez. I don't know I'm gonna stop mirroring. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. There you go.
Prime Minister, know that every person in this room and the 180,000 people who work in this industry have your back, just as we know that you have ours.
Yes, sir. That's what we got to see here.
No surprise there.
No surprise at all. Well, look. In Canada, media producers create much of the content that fills our screens. Those producers rely heavily on public policy and public funding. No shit, we know that. Federal funds, provincial tax credits, mandatory broadcaster contribution, the CRTC rule, Bill C-11. Their survival depends on government priorities staying favorable to them. When your business depends on government support, you think carefully before challenging that very government. Broadcasters then select from the pool of content to meet Canadian content and regulation obligations. CBC is directly funded by Ottawa. That we know, right? Ottawa sends them $1.4 billion a year. Private networks operate under licenses and quota set by the federal regulator. This does not mean anyone gives instruction about what to say. It means incentives quietly shape what gets made and what gets aired. Now, look at news. Newsrooms exist inside the same corporate and regulatory environment, same ownership structures, same regulators, same policy pressures. That does not mean reporters are told what to think. It means editors and executives know which stories fit comfortably inside the system and which one creates risk. So when producers publicly express support for the Prime Minister, Canadians are allowed to notice the relationship. That mindset does not stay locked inside entertainment. It influences what stories are prioritized, how they are framed, and which angle gets the most airtime. This does not mean every show or every newscast is propaganda per se. It just means the structure naturally favors certain themes and viewpoints. Progressive social narratives, climate framing, government-friendly explanations. Skeptical or critical perspectives are less likely to be prioritized. Taxpayers fund subsidies. One sec. TikTok. Stop doing that. Anyways, taxpayers fund the subsidies. Taxpayers fund the broadcasters. Taxpayers consume the news, and then taxpayers are told there's no bias. This is why people are frustrated. Look, I'm not going to claim a secret plot. They are reacting to a system where public money, regulation, and cultural policies is the same as the political direction. To give you an idea, by the way, that clip that aired right there, that aired live, it was then scrubbed from the internet. The CPAC, which is the Cable Public Affairs Channel, which is the ones who aired this entire thing, they edited their YouTube live stream and they cut that segment out. They completely hid it. The only reason why this video exists right now is because it was recorded live by someone in their living room. And that's why the quality of the video was so shit. It's because I was like a phone recording on TV. They hid it completely. They don't want you to know.
Of course they don't.
That the entire industry, the entire public broadcasting industry, and he said the quiet part out loud. We have your back, Mark Carney.
Yeah.
As much as we know, you have ours.
Yeah. He shouldn't have said that.
That is not journalism.
He just told on himself.
Yeah. And anytime people say the CBC is unbiased now, sorry guys. Nope.
Dude, just beyond that, Mark Carney thinks his MPs and ministers are doing such a great job that they're getting a huge raise on April 1st.
Oh, are they now?
Members of parliament are going to get a $8,812 raise so that their total salary will be $218,612. And cabinet ministers are getting a $13,007 raise, and which brings their total salary up to $322,707. Okay.
They're eating good, eh?
They're eating good, but you have to remember that last year was a year where they had the fewest sessions in Parliament, I think, on record in Canada.
Yeah, 78 days, I think they said only.
So they worked for 78 days to just sit down in Parliament and like babble at each other, accomplish pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're all getting a nice $9,000, $13,000 raise. Let me ask you, Elliot, did you get a $13,000 raise last year?
No, but isn't Carney giving us a greater GST rebate now for food because we're broke?
Pocket change, like $800.
Yeah, I know.
$800. The same food grocery that grocery rebate is the same rebate that Trudeau gave, but just slightly more. And it's like $800 a year. It's basically they're laughing at you. Yeah. They think you're peasants. They're giving you crumbs and saying, "Look how much we're doing for you." Yeah. Meanwhile, their MPs are getting $13,000 raises. The media establishment, like you illustrated, is just completely just bought and paid for.
Absolutely.
And overpaid for.
I wonder if the Conservatives voted against that pay raise.
I don't think anybody voted against that pay raise.
Oh, there you go. At least Poilievre took an economy flight to Calgary. Do you see that? He posted it. Yeah.
Well, actually, Pierre Poilievre, to his credit, is the least expensive. He spent the least on his team. Like his team is the least expensive team out of all the other political parties.
Government apparatus.
Yeah.
Well, they're still, in my humble opinion, too expensive and too much of a leech.
Well, dude, I've seen, you know what? I will say this about Pierre Poilievre before we wrap it up. I've seen Pierre Poilievre, like I've campaigned. Like I've campaigned with Pierre Poilievre. I've seen him like go door to door. Like I was invited to help him like go door to door with a small group of volunteers, and I watched that man just run door to door, meet everybody he wants to see. Every event I've ever gone to of Pierre Poilievre's when he was campaigning, he took the time at the end of the event to meet every single person that wanted to meet him, and these were huge events. There's like a horde of 1,000 people waiting, and I've seen the man wait and talk to everybody and give them their fair share of time. And the last thing I will say, he was the first one to call out the reckless spending. He was the first one to talk about his healthcare platform that I firmly stand behind. That's my favorite thing about Pierre Poilievre, and something people don't talk about enough is his healthcare platform for this country, his housing platform, how he wants to negotiate with the provinces and withhold federal funding based on how many permits they give. And if they give permits, they'll give them a bonus. And if they don't increase the amount of housing permits that they give by 15% a year, he's going to withhold federal funding. I've seen him put out fantastic policy platforms. And when things like that he's the least expensive, he has the least expensive team, I think he deserves a chance at being prime minister personally.
Maybe. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I ain't a partisan. And I personally, my optics on all politicians is they're all the same. Doesn't matter which party's in power. Do I think Conservatives are better than Liberal? I'll tell you the exact same thing I said to Conservatives at the convention. I vote Conservatives and I think they're a better party. but I personally don't think there's a messiah that's coming to save us. And I personally don't think any one of them is going to solve anything. Because as much as I miss the Harper days, and I think Harper was great, I'm old enough to remember Harper saying that he was going to completely repeal the Firearms Act of Canada of 1995, and instead all we got was he scrubbed the long gun registry. It's a nice little bonbon, nice little candy, but that's a complete 180 from his initial promise. So politics is politics, politicians are politicians, humans are corruptible, and I trust none of them. But to that extent, though, I do think Poilievre is better than Carney. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Subscribe, like, share, send it to your grandmother. There's some boomers out there that love this stuff. And guys, we'd appreciate the support on Patreon. $8 a month. It makes a world of a difference. And it makes sure that maybe next convention we can fly business class. Anyways, thank you so much, guys. Have a good one.